And the excellence in this industry is not from the tools. It's not from the process. It's not the things that you use to get in and out of a trade. It's how you, as the operator, you, the trader, handle yourself and engage the market. But wait a minute, Michael, you're saying that it's not the tools, it's not the things that you use to trade, but how you engage the market, right? How you think about the market, how you think about you as a trader. Think about it like this. If you were to start all over again, but had the benefit of knowing everything you know at this point, even though if you're not consistently profitable, you know the things that you wasted time on. You know the things that you did incorrectly. And some of you probably have studied incorrectly with me. You didn't listen to the things I've told you to do. You're afraid or intimidated. You're embarrassed. You don't want to admit that you did something incorrectly. And that's one of the things that, when I sit down and talk to you, I'm reminding my children, and I'm reminding you as the audience members that are privy to these conversations I have with them, that I made terrible mistakes in the beginning trying to do things that I was not ready for. I took on the challenge of trading with real money with just a month's worth of book reading. That's it. I did a couple little things. I looked in the charts and I figured, well, this is easy to see. 1, 2, 3 tops, 1, 2, 3 bottoms, bull flags and things like that. That seems easy enough. I can go in there and do that. And then I got smacked around. My first real soiree in the marketplace, and 50% of my account was taken overnight, trading option in orange juice. So I know what it feels like to rush in and do things ahead of time, ahead of schedule. But I was hungry to get out of the rat race. I was hungry to become more than just the average everyday existence, go to work, come home tired, and feel like that maybe, I'll be able to retire eventually. So I was impatient, just like every one of you are. And if you're saying you're patient now, you're not. That's just you trying to convince yourself or everyone else that would see your social media post that you're patient. I'm not patient. I may come across as someone that has the patience of a saint, but I can tell you this, I am absolutely impatient. I wrestle with that every single day. And I get impatient with people that come and they want to get to the point in ICT. The point is it's going to take a lot of fucking work to learn how to do this appropriately and correctly. And I don't sugarcoat it. I don't do those types of things where I'm going to convince you that in a week's workshop or a month or a couple months or even 1 year, you're going to be consistently profitable. But in 1 full year, you will have a full baseline. You'll have some measure of understanding what the normalcy is over the entire calendar year for the marketplace. There are seasonal tendencies that come in. They shift in and shift out. And you have to have that because you can't just take a small sample set of time observing price action, regardless of who teaches you, whether it's me, someone else, it doesn't matter. You can't take a very small, tiny little snapshot of time and engagement and think that you have it figured out. The exercise I want you to do is take both of your hands and hold them in front of you. Outstretch your arms in front of you, right in front of your face, as far as your arms can reach in front of you, and touch your 2 thumbs together and your 2 index fingers. And it should closely resemble a triangle. Okay? Now, take that triangle that you're holding with your hands and pan around to any portion of something in front of you. Whatever the landscape is, if you're in a room, do that. Okay? And I want you to think about that small little triangle area. That small little triangle area is the perspective that 1 year gives you. Now, look around, all around the room with your head panning around now. That's what your career will look like. It's dynamic. But when you're learning, when you first step into this industry or any skill set, You have to go in with a very small sample size. So that way you can condition yourself to look for something that repeats. There's something in the marketplace every single day. Every single day, I have a model, I have an application, I have a PD array, I have a style, I have an approach that I can absolutely go in there and smack the shit out of this marketplace and take something home every single day, every single trading session. Now, I didn't have that. I'll call it arrogance because that was arrogance, but that's just the fucking truth. In the beginning, though, I was timid. I was afraid. I was afraid to do anything because I was clueless to what was available. Now, I could understand, you can put your hands down, by the way, that small little triangle, that perspective. That's what I had when I read Ken Roberts' book, which was, at the risk of sounding disrespectful, it was a piece of shit book. Okay. But it did get me excited about the idea of trading. It really did. It got me interested in trading. It turned me on to a movie called Trading Spaces. And, I just fell in love with the idea. I'm going to be a trader. I'm going to devote my life to the marketplace. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I can't imagine doing anything else. I fell out of love with martial arts. I was going to run a martial arts dojo. And I said, this is me. Like, I feel drawn to this. But that small little perspective of understanding a few things, but your impatience drives you into thinking that small little perspective is enough, and it's not. That's just the invitation to the party. That's the invitation to the dance floor. That's just the first chords of the song that you're going to dance to as a career as a trader. That's not the entire song. That's just the first few notes. And rarely do you ever hear the first few notes of any song and think, well, this is going to be a banger. Because sometimes I've heard something that sounds like it's going to be great and it's not good. But that perspective, whatever it is limited. And you can't take that small little perspective, whether it be training with somebody that has an idea that they're going to turn you into a master trader in a short span of time. I don't believe that's possible. Not because I didn't do it, but because I understand human nature. Human nature is, I want it right now. I want it fast. And that side of the marketplace in every industry is always going to be able to fleece the impatient. The impatient, and you don't care because you want to make money, and that's all that matters. That's fine. I appreciate that hustle because I was willing to do a whole lot of shit when I was younger too, and do things that would have otherwise, made me cringe today. But when you're hungry and you want to leave the rat race, when you want to get out of the mundane and being typical, the average bear, I wasn't made to be like that. I had a lot of shit that I had to prove because I had parents that didn't do anything with me. I had a very sheltered childhood, and the few things that I did involve myself in, that was my entire world. So when I saw the opportunity to bloom and really experience the world, experience life by having success, and this would be my vehicle, this would be my pathway, my highway to pursue that destination of excellence. It's funny, if you could please just permit me to talk, casually, and this isn't meant to sound arrogant, but I've met a lot of people in this industry, outside this industry, and those individuals that know me. It's really strange, and you're going to experience this too. The people that are residing in excellence, the students of mine that have discovered their model, they don't even follow me on Twitter. They don't watch my videos anymore. They found their model. They're living their life. And they're doing exceedingly well. And I'm very proud. And I don't need them to constantly give me any feedback or report cards. They said, look, this is where I'm at now. Thank you so much. I just can't imagine where my life's going to take me, but I'm excited. And they're done. They're not working anymore. They're making fortunes of real, not demo dollars, baby. Not demo, and they're not trading funded accounts. I'm talking real cash, real money. And they don't give a shit about what I'm doing on Twitter anymore. And I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel like, but you don't love me anymore. You don't worship me. You don't raise flags and make a ticker parade about me. That's not what this is about. It's never been about that. I want you to get to the point where you can say, you know what, Michael? I listened to all your shit. Okay? I had to go through a lot of shit to figure out what it is I should be trading. And I got it now. Thank you so much. It's been real, but I gotta go. See ya. That's exactly what I want all of you to do. I don't want you to feel tethered to me or need to feel tethered. I read people commenting in tweets saying, you know, they're depressed or they're anxious or they're upset and they're lonely and they're going to miss me already. I don't want you to feel that way. I've given you enough right now. If I stop, you have plenty. But I have more. I'm going to share. I'm going to teach you very specific things. And once you understand them, that's where you take your attention. That's where you take your devotions. Each day, you study. And you make whatever you describe as excellence, whatever that destination is for you. It may be leaving your job and just matching what you make at your job. And that is excellence. Because now you're not relying on someone else to pay you, to feed you and your family, to tell you when you can and can't. That, to me, is excellence. And then you get to that point and you think to yourself, well, I've only had to do this much to get to this point. What happens when I now apply the new experience over 3 years now doing it? I'm going to apply a new measure of commitment to it. And I'm going to start broadening my efforts and doing a little bit more than I'm used to. Not overnight trying to make $1 million, but just slowly growing into your new self. Remember, before that ugly ass caterpillar turned into that butterfly, it had to die as a caterpillar. And it was very ceremonial. It wraps itself up in its silken web, cocoon itself, and then it dies as a caterpillar. It closes itself off to the world. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Right now, you're all bookworms. You're caterpillars. You can't fly, but you want to. And you want to be beautiful in your sight and everyone else's sight. But you have to seclude yourself. Once you get the information, whatever that information is that you want to focus on and specialize in, that I'm teaching you, it may not be day trading, it may be short-term trading. It may be crypto stuff. Even though I don't like it, it might be that's where you're going to be. You may be the next legend in that asset class. Learning from me, doing the things I'm teaching, you may become the most widely respected and looked up to individual in the industry. Who says that you aren't or couldn't be? You're the one that's going to stop you. And you're the one that's going to fuel that. But you have to be able to segregate yourself from the influence of social media and negativity and things that are really just a waste of time. A waste of time and energy and effort. When you're devotional to studying, putting yourself in front of the charts, reading price action, whether it be live or in hindsight, you have to continuously make that investment. And it will yield limitless fruits. Even the smallest of experience, whether good or bad, in the proper learning environment, yields so much in the future that you can't understand or appreciate right now. The things I've learned, the painful lessons I've learned, many times come up in trade. Like, for instance, the trade I did yesterday. When I was in that trade, reaching for that 44.93 and 3/4, I wanted to see it trade up in the weekly volume and bounce. That's really what I was trying to reach for, but I knew everybody would see right away the 16th of June 2023's high for ES. And obviously above old high, that'd be liquidity, buy side liquidity. But while I was in that trade over 3 hours long or so, my mind reverted back to either painful experiences I've endured, because I've seen so much price action, so many different markets, so many different time frames, so many opportunities, so many stellar executions, just really phenomenal entries, and just managing the positions. I've seen many of that over 3 decades. But in between all that, there's a laced layer of failures, losing, blown accounts, depression, regret, all those things. And I remember all that stuff while I'm watching price action. And sometimes it can be a distraction. Sometimes it can be an encouragement, where I'll watch something in price action and it'll remind me of something I did before. Now, I don't go out thinking about, oh, remember that time I was trading copper and it did this? I don't physically go into that vault in my memory and say, let me dig that out. It's just when I see something in price action, it makes me remember that event because it was impactful. It was either a win or it was a debilitating loss. And you're gonna have a whole memory bank of that. As you go forward in your career, you're gonna have that same thing happen. And this is what you want to be. When you're at your destination of excellence, you're not in a hurry. You're not in a hurry. Once you mature to a point in study that it's just a matter of time, you're going to get what you're looking for. You want to leave your job, it's going to fucking happen. You can't set a date for it, though. That's the mistake. That's the mistake I tried to do. I tried to say, okay, I want to be done working at this time. But now it was 20 years in advance, that far out. I had 20 years. That was my retirement. At 40, I want to retire. I don't want to be working anymore at 40 years old. I was a 20-year-old thinking that. And at the time, and looking back now, I still think that as a realistic objective. About 6 weeks or so, maybe. About 7 weeks or so. Off the top of my head, I can't think. August 8th, I'll turn 51 years old. And I can tell you, as a 51-year-old, thinking about how I thought as a 20-year-old, the timeline that I first started with, that was realistic. Now, that is not to say that you learning from me is going to take you 20 years, because a lot of people like to troll that bullshit, but their students don't bring their fruits. You don't see anybody making $500,000. Okay? You don't see these other people out there making millions of dollars. You don't see it. So when you waste your time listening to that stuff, what you're doing is you're looking for perfect excuses why you shouldn't study, why you shouldn't put in the time. You want to collect new gadgets, new methods. And that is in itself a deterrent from you growing. You have enough. You have more than enough. But because you're constantly addicted to the new voodoo that I'm releasing, everybody wants to be on the bandwagon when a new thing pops out, and they want to have a conversation about it. That's great. I mean, I'm going to lie and say I'm not, thrilled to see people's interest in it, but it becomes, it takes on this, it's a distraction. And I created it. And I can tell you honestly, the way people take the things I release, they make it like, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It escapes me, but yeah, I guess it would be called like. It's called like, yeah. I'm just going to be honest. That's what it is. Whenever I drop something new, whenever I teach something new, there's a large portion of our community that just goes berserk. and initially it's funny, yeah. But I can be honest and practical and tell you that as a teacher, as a mentor, I have so many more things. If I stayed around and kept releasing stuff, many of you would never settle in on just what you have and work with that, because you think that there's something else out there. Look at that. I mean, he released a silver bullet. Look at that. It's perfect. It's time. I know when it's going to form. And for many of that was a big concern. Like, When does it form? When do these order blocks? What's the right order block? Because really what you're asking is, what is the setup that's never going to take a loss? And I can trust that it's going to move in the right direction that bias is indicating. Well, here's the thing. I only have things that go in a 90%. But there's 10% likelihood I'm going to fail at it. The trade won't go exactly where I want it to. It might go in a position or a trade movement that'll allow me to take profit. But it doesn't go always to my best case target. Now, a best case target is just that. It's best case. But I have conditioned myself over 30 years to take enough and be content with that. And then leave something there in the event that my ego and pride needs to have itself massaged. If it goes there, great. If it doesn't, I can cope with the fact that it can go there. That's a skill set that I had to condition myself with. And I teach it that way to you because I know a lot of you, especially the men, and many of them won't admit to this, but they can't take losing. They can't take missing a move. They can't take getting stopped out. If I get stopped out and the trade's still valid, you've watched me do this. You've seen me do it. If I get stopped out, okay, no problem. I'm going right back in again. I got 81 ways to get into it, and I ain't worried about it. I don't need my favorite song to dance. All I'm looking for is a reason to justify a trade still being valid. And that's all you're doing.